Hey guys, do you remember in the syllabus when I said that I didn't choose the books because I like them? Well, I want to start out this section of the course by explaining to you why I chose for us to read Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. So, first of all, I was trying to figure out what does contemporary mean? And I thought since it's a transferable course, I should dig in and find out a little bit more about how other major universities and colleges are interpreting that. And also in the syllabus, I described that a lot of them, even though formally contemporary is considered anything post-World War, I think it's World War II, a lot of people were interpreting it more tightly as the last 5 years. So whatever's been published in the last 5 years. And I watched a lot of YouTube commentators, like a lot of professors or experts will post their own YouTube video lectures. And I was trying to figure out what resonates and makes the most sense to me. And something that stood out to me was this idea of post 9/11. So when you're trying to define a time period like contemporary, what you're looking for is you're examining the culture today and you're saying, this is kind of what I observe going on in terms of attitudes, perspectives, behaviors, the current like climate or atmosphere. And then you're saying what historical event or moment most accurately pinpoints the beginning of this atmosphere and this climate. And it's difficult to really say because like in the last year, everything feels like it's literally blown up. But I was feeling like, and it could be my age and my own life story, but I was feeling like, a lot of what is going on today, you can still trace it back to that experience of 9/11. There's a lot going on that if we're going to fully understand it, our reflecting should go back to 9/11. And of course, you can make the argument, or Vietnam, or post-World War II, whatever it is for you. But I thought there would be value in looking at post 9/11 literature. And so I did a lot of Google searches and I tried to find, the best post 9/11 lit. And there were just so many options. I read lots of reviews and lots of summaries. And I came across this book by Jonathan Safran Foer. It's interesting, side note, that this author, I first heard of him because he wrote a book called Eating Animals, which is a nonfiction text about, I think it's like, I haven't read it myself, but basically being vegan. So it's strange that I know him for that, but then he's writing this fictional tale here. And I liked it because this will be debatable as we go forth, but he puts 9/11 as the backdrop. And that's how it functions, I think, in our lives today as well. And so then you get the experience of reading the text and questioning, like, how much is 9/11 essential to this story? What is it about that historical event and the way that event changed history that truly seeps into the culture and the characters and just the mood of life for people since then? And so I thought that activity since 9/11 isn't the focal point, was really relevant to what we're doing here in terms of trying to figure out how does the contemporary time period influence reading and writing. So that's one of the reasons why I chose it. And because I started to read book reviews and people are just, they're harsh. Like, you're going to be introduced to some of that right off the bat. Here I've chosen an article from NPR, which you can also just listen to on an NPR radio special. And their reviewer just rips it apart and like even says his closing line of the article is that the use of 9/11 in the text makes him angry. I didn't feel that at first. Like, I don't typically feel like there are a handful of books that make me angry. I've actually thrown a book in a trash can because it makes me so upset and I don't want anyone else to read it. But I don't usually have that strong of a reaction typically to books. And so it stood out to me that people were so angry about this specific book. And I thought that makes it a great book for a classroom because we're not just a book club, we're learning. And I think that choosing contentious stuff is a good way to learn, because then we can ask, well, why? And because maybe in this classroom, some of you will be like, I loved it, which people do. Reviewers, on the other hand, think it's so whimsical, think that Foer has made his mark as a writer of our time, and they think that Oscar is an endearing character, and that they captured the spirit of the city of New York and all this other stuff. Okay, the other reason why I chose the text is that contemporary literature as a phrase, to those two words, we're not just looking at like the contemporary moment and the themes and ideas of the time, but we're also looking at how is literature as a form, so writing style, being defined by those people. So like in the arts, for instance, there are movements in time. So there was like in visual arts, there was the movement of realism, and then that shifted to abstraction when you had people like Picasso show up on the scene. And so then art critics will go stand in front of a piece of art and they're like, this reminds me of so-and-so and so-and-so. It must be from the period of blah, blah, blah. And we can do the same thing with literature. It sounds excruciating, doesn't it? But this book is going to make it pretty easy for us, because this book, and I'll define this with materials that follow, it's considered postmodern. It's funky. That's the best way to make it to describe it simply. For instance, pages 121 and onward. Look at this. 121 right here. Okay? You might think, oh, the next chapter is starting. But then what the heck is this? Like, why are these pages blank? I actually found something really hilarious that I'll show you. It'll be another linked material, but somebody in the book review was like, my copy arrived brand new, and I'm so angry. This is ridiculous. Watch. Here, I should have prepped this beforehand, but like, I can't even read these pages. It must be a mistake of the printers. I'll give you a heads up. Not a mistake of the printers. Totally on purpose, created by this Jonathan Safran Foer, this jerk who wants to make it difficult for us to read. I'm trying to look for the other thing that he did in here. This. They're like, my copy showed up and there's red pen all over it. You terrible printers at Houghton Mifflin. That's funny. It's like Dunder Mifflin. Anyway, so that's the other reason why I chose the book, is because there are some alternating narrators. There's some weird visual stuff going on. And again, it just kind of pisses people off, or they love it. And that makes it perfect for a classroom. So it's the oldest of, wait, let me finish my thought. The hardest part about reading this is going to be those alternating narrators. I even found it a little difficult and frustrating at first. I was like, oh, I don't want to do this mental gymnastics. I just want to read the freaking book. But I'll give you a heads up. It's every other chapter is, so Oscar, the little boy, is going to narrate most of the book. But then every other chapter, you're going to get this different narrator. If I'm remembering correctly, because I read it last month, so you'll have to like fine tune this memory for me. But the alternating narrators, there's this older man, and I won't give you more details about his character, but this older man and his wife or partner. And like one so it's Oscar, and then it's the man, and then it's Oscar and it's the woman, and then it's Oscar and it's the man, Oscar and the woman. I don't know which one it starts with. Oscar, but man or woman, I don't know. And the man and the woman are connected to Oscar. You'll find out how later. But they have lived through the bombing of Dresden. I give you a little bit of context on that below. And so that's the hardest part, is just trying to figure that out. If that's a good place, though, to like get out a pencil and jot down like in the margins, this is the man, and look for the clues that tell you which it is, or even like interact with each other as students and be like, someone help me, who is narrating this chapter? And maybe we can all figure it out together. So that's the hardest part of reading it. But if you know that going into it, you'll struggle a lot less. And the last thing I wanted to say is, what was it? Shoot, darn it. I'm trying to do this in one text. This is the oldest of the books that I chose. It was published in, was it 2012? And so after this book, we're really, like I said, just going to start digging into copyright 2005. Ooh, that's really old. So that's only 4 years after 9/11, right? That's how that works? Yeah. No. Yeah. So, yeah, the oldest of the books, and then we'll start digging into like the last 5 years. But the reason why I chose it is because I want us to consider, like, is contemporary literature best defined as post 9/11 literature? I don't know. That's up for discussion. So email me if you have any questions, but I am really excited to see what you guys have to say, and a little nervous to experience your strong reactions to this book here. This book. It's also a movie. We'll talk about that later. Bye.